We're very fortunate today to have as our musical guest the beautiful and wonderfully talented Lea Morris. And Lea will next be playing a prelude for us. So Lea, I send the service over to you for your kind ministrations.
Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. This is not only Father's Day, thank you for the reminder, and the day after solstice. It is also the day after my birthday. So, I figure that happens once a year. I can celebrate. And since I didn't see you yesterday, I thought I'd share. This song is a celebration of the wealth, the abundance that is always available to all of us. I was walking one morning, closer to like sort of in that space between spring and winter, and the sun was just blasting on my face, and it was just the most wonderful, beautiful experience. I said, I gotta sing about this. And if at some point these lyrics and this melody becomes familiar to you, please sing along. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. And it's shining down on me, and it's good and warm and free. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. And I've got more than enough love to fill my heart. You can see it on my face like that sun's amazing grace. I've got more than enough love to fill my heart. I've got more than enough notes to write a song. I've got more than enough notes to write a song. They are floating on the breeze, and I hear them in the leaves. I've got more than enough notes to write a song. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. I've got more than enough sunshine on my face. And it's shining down on it. I've got sunshine on my face. I've got enough sunshine on my face. I've got enough sunshine on my face. And it's shining right down. I've got enough sunshine on my face. I've got more. Today is gonna be an amazing day. I've got more. Today is gonna be the day I let it be. 'Cause I feel the love. I am the love. Today is gonna be an amazing day. I've got more. Today is gonna be an amazing day. I've got more. Today is gonna be the day I let it be. 'Cause I feel the love. I am the love. Today is gonna be an amazing day.
Next, I will lead us in a centering prayer. This is something from Thich Nhat Hanh. It's not so much a prayer as it is a bit of a little meditation, but please join with me in a prayerful mode. You are holding a cup of coffee when someone comes along and bumps into you or shakes your arm, making you spill your coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? Because someone bumped into me would be your answer. Not the right answer. You spilled coffee because there was coffee in your cup. Had there been tea in your cup, you would have spilled tea. Whatever is inside your cup is what will spill out. Therefore, when life happens and situations in the outer world shake you up a bit, whatever is inside you is what will come out. Your contents remain invisible most of the time until you are rattled and things get shaky. Let us ask ourselves, What is in my cup? When life's events rattle me, what will spill out? Will it be joy, compassion, gratitude, and humility? Or will it be fear and anger and judgment, separation and sadness? We can choose what we use to fill our cup. Therefore, may I suggest that we fill our cups with good things, with beauty, compassion, love, togetherness. Let's do that, and we will lead happy lives. Amen. And next, we will get to hear our wonderful musical guest, Lea, share with us once again. Over to you, Lea.
Thank you. This song comes from the intention to listen within and be sure that what is filling and overflowing from me is from a spiritual source and not dependent on what's going on around me. So it's perfect. Thank you for sharing that admonition. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening, I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening, I'm listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening, I am listening. In this moment of silence, speaks to me. I can hear the voices of all my kin, speaking, howling, crying. We're all calling into the wind. My hands are wide open, and all the joy, and all the love that's here for you and me. In in this moment of silence, I hear it speaks to me.
So this isn't the first time it's happened that I went to speak and I had to wipe tears from my eyes. Lea, that was so beautiful and so moving and so perfect. And between your beautiful songs, the sunshine, the listening, and the daily word, of course, and John Thich Nhat Hanh's piece about what I'm carrying is what I'm spilling. I almost don't need to give my talk because that was most of it, honestly. So as I recompose myself, both turning the water faucet off and redetermining what to say, it's actually kind of funny because I meditate with a topic for, the better part of a week. And I had it all worked out and, a lot of juicy Butterworth stuff going on and some modern unity writers. I was really excited. And yesterday in meditation, Spirit said, that's not what you're doing. and gave me another idea that I actually didn't really like very much. Honestly, I liked my idea better. And kind of, did a little pushback. And Spirit came back and said, would it be better for them to hear you speak to them or for them to hear God speak in them? And I thought, well, I can't really argue with that one. So I'll go with your idea, Spirit, which is that I'm going to speak a little less and a little differently than originally intended. And we're going to take a longer time in practice where you will get to create the space, at least, to hear God, to hear the truth, to hear the divine love, to hear the light of the sun, the light of God within yourselves, within ourselves. So that's our switch around. I want to name the water we're swimming in these days, partly because it's the elephant in every room right now, and partly because it's the context within which we are creating this space within ourselves to hear, to know, and to express. So naming the confusion, the chaos, the consternation, that's in the air, right? That's all around us. The COVID stuff, the economy, politics, the homeschooling, the rules about mask, no mask. Are we coming back to our physical church or are we staying on Zoom? All of these things that are unknowns and that we are swimming in constantly. It makes me think of this YouTube video. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was actually hilarious. This woman sort of posed as if she were a spokesperson giving a news conference to give all the clear news about COVID, right? Did anybody see this? And she went through all the contradictions. It's dangerous. You must stay in your house, unless, of course, you need to leave your house and go to work, in which case you need to leave your house. It doesn't affect children, except, of course, for the children that it affects. And they then need to leave the house to go to the doctor. But otherwise, don't go to the doctor. So she went through this whole thing. It's about 3 minutes long. You can Google it. It's hilarious. But it so perfectly captures this betwixt and between space that we find ourselves in right now. And amidst all of this, there is a new light emerging and shining onto things that have been kept or pushed away into the dark for a very long time. The unfairness, the injustice, the imbalances that have been with us for however long are being brought into light to be addressed and as an opportunity for us to create anew and to develop loving change. But even this good news, even these things that are coming to light bring with them questions and quandaries. How do we do this? What do we do with that? And all of that is just what's outside, right? That's in the world around us. But as New Thought practitioners, we know what that means. When there's so much chaos outside, we get to come deeper inside and create the space for the peace and the clear, beautiful, loving change we wish to see around. I've been feeling very jangled inside, and I've been doing all the grounding and all the deep practices that I know how to do to keep myself, well, I don't even know to keep myself, but to try to keep myself at least somewhat in a common space, in a centered space, able to discern, able to even see somewhat clearly. And the exercise, the practice that we're going to do today is very much about conditioning that space, about training that space within ourselves as a place we can always come back to hear the divine speaking to us, to hear and see the truth that is ours to be. So, solstice. In the title, I added a U because we're going to come back to the soul. Even the summer solstice, by the way, is not free of some confusion and some mystery and some lack of clarity. It's actually, well, right now, it's actually come along with an eclipse, which is unusual. Apparently, there are like 5 or 6 planets going into retrograde, which I'm not even fully understanding what that's all about, but I know it's not a great thing. It creates all sorts of chaos and hullabaloo in our lives and in our communications and in our relationships, and a friction, if you will, a static maybe between our thoughts and how they manifest, or so it's understood. A solstice also includes with it and holds without tension and without conflict many, many forms of duality. Obviously, the light and the dark, the sun and the moon, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, the external energy of the spring coming to the sun's pinnacle, and then the withdrawing slowly that becomes more internal and more quiet. It's like the yin and the yang, which, if you think about the picture, the black paisley, the black circle has that dot of white in it, and the white has the dot of the black in it. Each of the opposite holds within it and flows into its equally important and necessary opposite. And we do that within ourselves as well. The more consciousness we bring to it, the more awareness, the more light, the more sun we bring to that, the more dynamic, the more consistently we can hold that magical dynamic balance of opposites. Since people were people, the solstice as a day, as a time, as a week, as a month, as a period, has been honored in a lot of different ways. It's been fun sort of looking into it, but I don't get to talk about that. That's one of the things that Spirit X, so we could spend more time with our practice. But what I do want to say is spring and the energy of spring, right? One of the things that the solstice used to do is mark time. Still a little bit the transition of seasons, but now, I mean, of course, we use other things to do that, right? Is it time to go to the beach? Or how much are the kids still in school, or whatever, right? We use different things to mark both the transition of time and the changes of energy of the seasons, the spring and its initiation, its awakening, the birds beginning to chirp and coming back from down south, though even that doesn't happen the way it used to, frankly. Seeds being planted, and summer, which is more consistent activity, more maturation, more growth, a feeling of beginning to see the fruits of our labors, of beginning to look forward to the prosperity that the fall harvest will bring as a result of the watering and weeding and tending of our crops that we do through this summer period. So it's active and at a more mature level than what we see in the spring, perhaps more mindful, more consistent, more conscious, with a more pointed direction and a more pointed intention than the spring does. So it's been celebrated, like I said, in a lot of ways. And now, of course, in modern times, it's different. Stonehenge, by the way, has been live streaming the solstice and all these events. Who would like Stonehenge, right? One of the most ancient things around. And now you could watch it. You can watch it on your computer. I don't know. Somehow that's like, isn't that striking? And the way that we used to know what was real, what was a change in time and energy, by going to the stones and the earth and the sun and the moon and the stars and looking at all of that. And now we have no idea. We can't even see the stars most of the time, right? We have no idea what's going on. So what we get to do in this practice that we'll be doing today is going back more to the things that are more capital T true, the things that are timeless, the things that are unchanging, that allow us to know the truth of who we are, to pull out of that external chaos, even out of that internal chaos that, as much as we might like to think we've got it all sorted, we really don't. To find that calm place within where we hear and know and create from God. The solstice is fun for this because we can use the light, right, to come in, to shine open our truth, to illuminate all that we possibly can. So we can use that, we can amplify, we can draw these things out, we can think of it as life force, right? And amplify as much as we can, bring it in, drink it in, draw it in, like the ancients used to do, with bonfires, with poles and flags and all sorts of activities that they would do to draw the life force into us, to sustain us and to illuminate. So we're going to use that to give ourselves a sort of creative boost, right? Draw that energy in and give us a boost. We're going to take it to another level, though, to the level, like I said, of soul. Fillmore uses a definition of soul. I'm going to read here, and it's actually a combination of two parts of a definition from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which, if you haven't paid attention to that lately, is so much fun. He says, soul is man's consciousness. It touches both the inner realm of spirit from which it gets inspiration and the external world from which it receives impressions. Soul is both conscious and unconscious. And as man brings into expression the original purity of the divine consciousness, his soul is purified and established in its primitive innocence. So key points here. It touches the inner realm and the external, from which we get inspiration and from which we get impressions from outside. And as we bring this, our truth, into expression, the soul is purified. So we can use this energy of the light, the loving fire of the sun, to illuminate every tiny little nook and cranny of our consciousness. St. Francis said that even a single sunbeam can drive away many shadows. So one little beam can illuminate so much and bring to consciousness, right? Which is what we mean by illuminate, bring out of the subconscious, out of the unknown into our awareness, so that we may see and transform. So as we do this, we're going to look at three things, three questions, right? One, what is mine and what is not? What of my thoughts are truly mine? And what might come to me from news, from social media, heaven forbid, from the ether that we're all just swimming in? Emma Curtis Hopkins talks about how we'll catch the thoughts of others, which is kind of funny because it sounds like they're contagious, right? Which they sort of are, especially if we end up in a little bubble. We will catch the thoughts of others with whom we associate. And she tells us to go back to what we affirmed at the start of each day. I am wise in spirit. The Lord God is my soul, my sun, and my shield. So it's my light. It's also my boundary, my protection, my knowing of what is mine and what is outside that is not true. It's a discernment. We also get to ask ourselves, what is mine? What is it from the mind of love? And what might be from the collective, or what might be coming from fear? Fillmore calls fear a parasite and says it drives away divine guidance and produces weakness of the heart, which is both physical and metaphor. And of course, our courage, our capacity to go out and do, comes from heart. The second question we'll take into this practice with us is what has been hiding in the subconscious and what might be ready to go. Let's use the sun to illuminate this, to cast it out. Anything that's been stored or pushed away, stuff we've become afraid of, stuff that Jung would call the shadow, or that we've been projecting outward, either good or bad, that gets to come home to be integrated, to restore us to wholeness. The third thing we get to take with us, this question, is where might I have forgotten who I am? Forgotten myself as an expression of God. We get to remember, we get to return like the seasons to the remembering, to knowing the truth of who we already are, thinking the thoughts of God. So we're going to use the solstice, use the energy of this, the light of this, to clear away anything that no longer fits, so that we're thinking and creating from the cleanest and most holy, with a W, place possible. Solstice in Latin also means that the sun stands still. It's kind of a cool idea. In Matthew 6:6, Jesus says to go to a quiet place, a secret place, a room with the door shut when we pray. So he's not telling us obviously about a specific room or a specific physical condition, but to find the quiet space within, the stillness within, where we can hear, where we can see, where we can know the truth within us, and where we can exercise this discernment that Emma Curtis Hopkins is talking about, of what really is true and what maybe we've caught from someone else. So as we get ready to go into our practice, I want to highlight this discernment again and go back to something from Emma Curtis Hopkins, who I just love. She says, error can come in bright packages and beautiful words, but it's better to have a mind of your own. So we're bringing that discernment function back into our own depths, not giving it to anyone else, not letting anyone else determine what we know to be true in our own hearts or in our own minds. It's when we get quiet, and as we do in this practice right now, get so still, not asking, not requesting, but allowing, listening, hearing, simply being open, that our information and our truth will appear to us. We cultivate this space. We learn the sounds, we learn the sensations of truth versus the stuff we get that isn't true, the internal voices and the external voices. Usually, we all know this already, but it's useful to remember that the truth often feels quiet. It's a gentle breath, a soft knowing in the heart, in the mind, somewhere in the body. That place where it's something that feels maybe a little hollow, a little tinny, or a little fluttery, for me usually in my solar plexus, is the sign that maybe I'm listening to something other than truth. And I get to come back inside, find that place of stillness, and listen a little more deeply. So that when I spill my cup, It will be spilling over with love, with truth, and with the creative light of God. And not coffee or tea or judgment or fear or anything other than the truth of who we all are and what we want to be creating and what we want to experience in the world around us. So we're going to move into the practice, which is its own endeavor. It's going to take us about 10 minutes, but I'm going to give us a talk for just 2 minutes so we know what we're doing. As we go into this practice, I'm going to suggest that we bring the idea of the sun, right? This beam of light, as St. Francis mentioned. So bring it in with the questions. What's mine, what's not? What's coming from love, what's coming from fear? What might I have rejected that I get to bring back to wholeness now? What parts of my magnificence might I have forgotten? I get the picture of like one of those big spotlights, right? Like the old movie theaters used to have or something, right? And we can shine that big spotlight on all these places inside because it is a light of love. There is nothing we cannot see. There is nothing that cannot be welcomed, that cannot be brought into love and acceptance within ourselves, therefore made whole, returned to its truth of love, and shown out into the world. This is going to be 4 steps. 1, we're going to do a brief little breathing exercise. 2nd, we're going to do a concentration, bringing our focus to a single point the way the mystics always did. We're then going to go into an expansion, bringing the all awareness of everything into us so that all is part of us. And then we're going to leave with an inquiry or a moment to journal. So as we go into this, you may want to turn your camera off. I don't know, probably not. Or do, I don't know, whatever feels good. I'm going to be talking through parts of it. We're going to be silent through parts of it. So as we start, I'm going to suggest we take a posture. It's comfortable, but it's regal. We're sitting like a king or a queen on a throne with the back straight, but the shoulders relaxed, alert to the world around us and alert to what is inside. With the state of mind, we're going to observe things with neutrality. When I'm centered or connected, I can choose how I respond to thoughts or to external experiences. But when I'm not, I react. So we're going to step back and notice the gap between our thinking and our response, the gap where we get to choose, where we can sit and observe without judgment, with neutrality, and with dispassion. So this first stage, we're going to do a breath. It's a fairly intense breath. You're going to have to listen to me, sorry. We're going to do 3 rounds of 10 breaths. Obviously, do this to your comfort. We all know that already. This is a purifying breath. So it's going to be a deep breath in and a deep exhale. Again, 3 rounds of 10. I'll model it for 3 breaths and then we'll all go in together. So this is what it looks like. So basically we're pushing that breath out with the belly. So let's do 3 rounds of 10. If you don't want to do that much, you can do 3 rounds of 3. So round 1. A nice gentle breath. If you're getting lightheaded, just stay breathing normally. Round 2. Back to normal, centering in the body. Round 3. Again, a nice deep breath. As a transition, we're going to use our arms. We're going to stretch the body, arms straight out to the sides. Deep breath in, reaching above to the sun. Stretching out behind us and to the front. Basically calling in the directions and bringing that back to our center, back to the heart. Resuming that dignified posture, we're going to move into 3 minutes of concentration. In the Vedic tradition, we'll actually point our inner eye to the third eye. You can do that if you're comfortable, you don't need to. What we're doing here is concentrating that single point of focus and noticing the breath, just the breath. We stay centered inward and connected to this self, not distracted by anything going on around us, any sounds, any lights, anything going on. Coming into the self, single point of focus on the breath, allowing anything else to just be. If noises come up, we're back to the breath. The stomach is gurgling, we let it be and are back to the breath. Anytime we're distracted, we come back to that single point of focus. And we'll stay silent with that breath now. And I'll let you know when we come back. Single point of focus. And feeling that sunbeam, that light continuing to circulate in our body, illuminating everything with love and truth. Expanding our awareness, coming back to the body, to the room, to the Zoom. We're going to do a brief transition before our next step. We're going to put our hands over the face with just enough space between the fingers for the eyes. We can peer out and bring everything into us. Our awareness of the all that is, knowing that it all exists within us. It is all truth. It is all the light, the love of God, illuminating everything in the system and holding the still space of truth and awareness. Relaxing the hands, and we'll take 3 minutes now, zooming out our awareness of everything, the noises around us, the light, the birds, the air conditioning, whatever might be going on, the gurgles in our stomach that are ready for fellowship, the tingling in our toes, holding all of it and putting attention to none of it. Holding our center while everything exists without judgment, without attachment, without story. Staying curious and awake, yet centered and unaffected. All is love. All is light. And we allow to arise whatever may want to. Laying out the welcome mat to everything, as John Kabat-Zinn says. Holding everything in awareness and staying centered. And still knowing that light, still solid in our center. Let's come back into the body, into the room. Let's take 3 deep breaths with a nice sigh at the end of each. Releasing the last bit of anything that may be ready to go. And when we're ready, joining our community of like light souls, seekers of truth and cultivators of our space of knowing. Spillers of love, not coffee. Generally, we leave this practice with journaling of our experience or with an inquiry. And I love that we've got fellowship and I don't know. I love looking at the screen and seeing everybody here. It's so amazing. The inquiry that's not the one that I got earlier, but the one that's coming up now is who am I being? What wants to express through me? What light? What love? What truth wants to come through this still space, through this discerning space of truth and wisdom, and express through me in whatever way that may take, whatever form that may be. So as an inquiry, we get to walk with it, we get to live with it, we get to repeat it, maybe use it as a mantra. I hope that you've enjoyed this. I hope that you get to keep the sun, even as it begins to wane. We've always got the light, the Son of God inside, and it can illuminate for us always. I'm going to end with a quick affirmation that I didn't create, I found, so I don't remember who did it, so I just have to give credit generally. It says, just as the sun reaches its highest peak in the sky during the summer solstice, so do I expect my happiness to rise to its peak on this glorious day. And so it is. And so it is.
So just as Katherine was guided to share something different than she had initially intended, this is not the song that I had initially intended to share, but I heard this message echoed in her presentation, and it's a song by a young woman in her early 20s named Emily Elbert, and there is so much wisdom in this that just reminds me that wisdom is always available to all of us. It's a song, I believe, that is about listening in and hearing what is ours to do, and then recognizing that we have all the materials, all the requirements to do that work, to do that joy, to do that love, to be all those things that we are called to be. So this is called To Do the Work by Emily Elbert. These hands can build a fire. These hands can hold and heal. These hands can reach up higher and dig down deep to plant the seeds. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. So all people can walk free upon the earth, upon the earth. Mind, body, spirit, sing together, people, let's hear it. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. This voice can raise a question, and this voice can sing out spells. This voice can share perspective, cause sometimes it's alright to yell. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. So all people can walk free on the earth, upon the earth. Mind, body, spirit, sing together, people, let's hear it. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. This mind seeks solutions, and this mind finds the words. This mind unwinds the patterns, cause sometimes it's need to be unlearned. We have all the tools we need to do the work, just to do the work. So all people can walk free on the earth, upon the earth. Mind, body, spirit, sing together, people, let's hear it. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. My heart opens and opens, yes, my heart holds the prayers. My heart connects my body to the rhythm of all that there is. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. So that people can walk free on the earth. Everybody be free. Everybody's here. Sing together, people, let's hear. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work. We have tools we need to do the work, to do the work. So all people can walk free on the earth. Everybody, mind, body, spirit, sing together, people, let's hear. We have all the tools we need to do the work, to do the work.
And thank you to the Reverend Katherine Krupka for that beautiful message and practice. I think we've done the solstice well. Now I'm going to lead us in a closing prayer. I tried to find something suitable for solstice and Father's Day and the themes of light and truth. And I found in this publication that Kaywood had sent to a bunch of us from Unity, 30 Days to Fearless Living, something from Myrtle Fillmore called Command of the Spirit. Please join me in this prayer. Stand by the truth, for its seed is in itself. Be the light, health, substance, beauty, and youth of your world. For ignorance, see light. For sickness, health. For want, plenty. For ugliness, beauty. For old age, youth. For bondage, freedom. Get on fire with this doctrine. Let it be your first, last, and only thought. Our God is a consuming fire. The righteous shall shine as the sun. Appearances are nothing to spirit. Set the mind free from ideas of lust and deception. This is freedom to heal. No man hides iniquity. Believe in the honesty of all people. Like the child, see good in all things. Distrust makes wrinkles and old age. Keep to your intention. Spirit fulfills your obligations. Reiteration of truth trains the mind. Persistence in truth brings healing and prosperity. All is truth. Amen.